Hi, welcome to a new 3-part repair series that includes a Mega Drive, its controller, and a Game Gear, all of which will get separate episodes. Today we're starting with the controller, but as you can probably imagine, these have quite the backstory. Several months ago, fellow Perf YouTuber 005 Agmia, who also sometimes goes by the name of Chris, obtained all three in one go. The story goes that an illegal dump site was discovered somewhere in the Western Australian outback. All these items appear to have been out in the elements for years, decades even. You can see the controller face down in this photo, getting a head start on all that caked in red dirt. They posted their find on a forum, hoping that a YouTuber would snap it up with the idea that they would be restored to their former glory. This included a stipulation that it stayed within WA, since you can't post dirt interstate for biodiversity reasons. Chris bravely volunteered and nicknamed the trio the Mad Max Sega Collection. You can check out a 3-part video series on Chris's channel where he begins work on the Mega Drive. I've linked them in the description. He made fantastic inroads, but eventually decided to hand the reins of the entire lot to myself. It did come with a price, however, the princely sum of 1 pint of Guinness. Let's head to the pub.
Okay, and this is the guy. It's a Retro Game On, so I'll put a link to his channel down in the description and in the chat. But there you go, mate. See what you can do with the Mad Max Sega Mega Drive. And I thought long and hard about it, but I've also thrown in the controller and the Game Gear as well.
Really? Oh, wow.
That were all found in the same patch. Whoa. So there you go. So I've now officially swapped a Mega Drive and a Game Gear for this pint of Guinness, and I think I've done well.
I think I've done well too.
Alright, enjoy.
I'll open it up at home.
Yeah. There you go. He doesn't know what he's in for.
Okay, let's race home and get started, but outside. You'll notice the Mega Drive is quite clean thanks to Chris. That requires its own bag, since nothing else has been touched since it was retrieved from the desert. This is the same bag Chris received the lot in. Here's the controller we'll be working on in this episode, but I'll show you everything else to whet your appetite for future videos. You won't be seeing this power adapter again though, that went straight in the bin. I probably won't bother with these RF shields either, but here is the Game Gear. It looks to be full of dirt. It also looks like a polarization filter has removed itself from the screen thanks to countless summers staring into the sun. That should save me some isopropyl alcohol. Here is the Mega Drive. It's still untouched after Chris's videos, so be sure to check out those for a primer of what I'm in for. Let's begin work on the controller and start with disassembly. It would be a fruitless endeavour to try and test it now. At the very least, this requires heavy cleaning. Sometimes that's all that's required. Several winters ago, a co-worker of mine found a dumped N64 and GameCube in a very wet and weed-filled vacant lot. I've released videos on restoring both of those and I'll leave links in the description. But long story short, they have sprung back to life after just a deep clean. Add in an RGB mod for the N64 and a new laser with the Pico Boot mod for the GameCube, and both consoles are other ones I primarily use. Back to the present. Most of the screws removed easily, but there's always one. I tried my best to remove the caked in soil and several different screw bits, but in the end, it was time to clean up the workspace and bring out the big guns. That's right, my craptacular cheap drill from Bunnings. This drill has appeared many times on this channel, and I really do hate the damn thing. I can't bring myself to replace it with something better while it's working and technically getting the job done, however, so at least for today, I'll be using it to drill out that errant screw. This took a while and several sizes of screw bit, but patience eventually paid off. Let's see what we're working with. I was surprised by how clean it was on the inside. The buttons were immovable, so I was expecting the inside to be absolutely packed with filth. Instead, what dirt that is present is instead caked and hardened to the inside of the plastic casing. I'm going to start the cleaning process with just regular tap water to remove the desert from the controller and the Game Gear. Don't worry, these electronics are far from being turned on for the first time. There will be several more steps and then a lot more drying. A lot of the dirt came off surprisingly easy once submerged. I was a bit concerned because in a past life, I was an off-sider who was tasked with cleaning a work vehicle that had spent a lot of time in the outback. As much as I tried, the red dirt was seemingly caked on permanently. I was worried I would get in trouble for not cleaning the ute properly, but instead, they were unhappy with how I wound up the hose. Regardless, most of the muck was removed, and I was left with this delicious outback soup. Everything was already looking much neater, but much like that old work ute, there are portions of red dirt I'll probably never be able to remove. After leaving it outside for several days, it was time for step 2, distilled water. Tap water is full of minerals and other stuff that's good for us, but not so great for electronics. A wash with this will hopefully remove the fluoride. Here, the Mega Drive was looped into the cleaning process. I don't have any footage of me cleaning the controller, but you get the picture. Step 3. White distilled vinegar. It's delicious on chips, but also great for cleaning corrosion off circuit boards. Everything here has a lot of that, having lived outside for God knows how long. The environment looked dry, but there must have been moisture and rain since there is rust. Now, the final cleaning step. Isopropyl alcohol. This wonder juice should take care of everything else. Let's scrub-a-dub-dub and soak it for several hours. I had planned for only 1 hour, but I forgot about it, even with the timer on. Indoors, finally, and the PCB somehow looks dirtier than originally. I'm not sure what that white residue is, but let's remove it with more IPA. The next step was to check the resistors and capacitors for shorts. Fortunately, none were found. I was worried about the controller plug being an issue though. The pins within might be corroded since they were directly exposed while dumped. I was also concerned that too much junk might be jammed into the holes. The probes with my multimeter were too thick to fit, so I wrapped around a leg from a component to check the connections. Not the most elegant solution, but it got the job done and showed there were no issues. After that, I reassembled the controller. It all went back together, but in a word, it felt spudgy. Some of the silicon rubber carbon dot pads had deteriorated, but hopefully they would work just enough for a successful test. I've also hypothesized that the plastics of the case and plug have deformed after laying in the sun for so long. The case was difficult to fit back together, and I struggled to plug it into a known working console.
Okay, let's give this a go. Cable is awkwardly wound up after being in an awkwardly wound up position for the last God knows how long. I think I might have put in the start button backwards. Well, not backwards, but the wrong way around. It's just because of the way it's pointing out. I think the start button's working because I just skipped past all that text. These buttons really do not feel great. The B button's not moving at all because the contact thing for it is sort of broken in the middle. Okay, push start. There we go, start works. Will it work a second time? Okay, we can scroll left and right. It's so spudgy. Yep, up and down, nice. A button. Oh, you probably have to, oh, it says push start right there, so I guess we'll find out in a second if the A, B, and C buttons work. Oh, A works. Does B work? I don't think it's working every time I push it, but it's working it. Working it, working it, working it. Yeah, I even won. Yeah, so like I said, the little contact ring that goes on that is, it's in 2 pieces at the moment, so that's okay. That can be easily replaced. Does C work? I don't even know if C, oh yep, C does stuff. Yeah, take that. This controller's been in the desert, mate, and I just used it to throw you across the room. It doesn't feel great, but it works. Oh no, oh, that didn't sound good. Something in the controller just made a weird sound. Just lasts a little bit longer, yes. Yes, get in.
So there we have it. This controller has survived the harsh realities of the Australian outback. I give no guarantee of when the Mega Drive and Game Gear will make another appearance, or if it's even possible to bring them back to life at all. But the good news is that I'm persistent. I've been working on both throughout the production of this video, and at the moment I'm waiting on a few replacement parts, gradually making their way through the postal service. I'm hoping all that packed in dirt preserved the innards, instead of destroying anything. A man can dream. Everything has been filmed, so I'm hopeful I can show you something soon. In the meantime, be sure to check out Chris's videos on the Mega Drive. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.